Welcome back, friends. This is Rabbi Nathan Zaboulani studying with you, Rabbi Yishak Arama, the Akedat Yitzchak on Parashat Vayeshev. Our topic for today will be the story of Yehuda and Tamar, a story which is often skipped in schools because of the maturity level needed to really appreciate the story. We are going to look at the Pesukim a little bit more lengthy this time, just so that everyone's on the same page of the story. Then we're going to see the classic explanation of Tamar's motivation in this whole story by Rashi. And then we'll see a very unique perspective from Rabbi Yitzchak Arama, the Akedat Yitzchak, on how Tamar really goes through a development of plan. She pivots, she audibles her plan based on the circumstances that present itself to her. And that's an important thing to be aware of, that when we know the story and we know all the facts, sometimes we read the story as though all the players and characters in the story know all the facts. But really, you have to understand that not everyone that is in the story knows all of the details that you know as the reader. And that's what's happening over here, according to the Yishak Arama, by Tamar. And she is learning things and changing her plan based on the facts that are presented and based on the scenario that happens to her. So we'll see about 8 Pesukim in the story. Vayomer Yehuda Tamar Kalato Yehuda, after the death of his 2 sons that were married, one after the other, to Tamar, says to Tamar, Shivi almana bet avich, ad yigdal Shela beni, sit as a widower until my 3rd son Shela is of age to be married to you. Ki amar pen yamut gam hu ke'echav, vatelech Tamar vateshe bet avia. So Yehuda really pushes off Tamar and does not intend to ever give his 3rd son Shela to Tamar. Vayirbu yamim vatamot bat Shua eshet Yehuda. After some time, Yehuda's wife passes away. And at a certain point, he's going to do business and traveling from one location to another. So now this Yehuda, the father-in-law of Tamar, who is now also a widower, is traveling from one place to another for business. Tamar goes to greet Yehuda in that intersection of where he is headed. And she covers herself, and she sits in a place in which she knows that Yehuda is going to be passing by, because she realizes that Shela is of age, but she hasn't been called to marry him. So she takes a proactive stance. And Yehuda sees her and assumes that she is a zonah. And he proposes this engagement, not official to her, but he doesn't know that it's really Tamar, his daughter. Immediately, Tamar is interested in getting something from him, not necessarily payment immediately, but something to signify that there is an obligation of Yehuda onto Tamar as a form of payment. She says to him, 1 second, you're going to send me afterwards? No. I need an eravon. I need a placeholder right now to guarantee things. What am I supposed to give you, says Yehuda. Certain 3 different things that he has on him. And he, Yehuda, gives it to her. And after that union, Tamar becomes pregnant. So this is the story. Now, the question that Rashi deals with is, what was Tamar's motivation in all of this? What was her intention? And he says, she covers herself. Why? Rashi explains that Tamar specifically wanted to be anonymous and unknown to Yehuda so that she can be with him. And she sits in a very strategic location, because she sees that they're not giving her the 3rd son, Shela. Therefore, she targets Yehuda specifically, because she wanted to have children from that specific family. She wasn't having it from the son, so she chooses initially Yehuda and goes after Yehuda. That's the way Rashi understands the story. And there is a lot of support to Rashi's explanation over here for sure. We're just going to see Rabbi Yitzchak Arama and how he takes a very unique perspective on this. And he says, really, Tamar's intention from the beginning was to do what? Was to go to Yehuda and to ask Yehuda, hey, I'm ready for Shela. When she covers herself, Says Rabbi Yitzchak Arama, it's not in order to entice Yehuda. It's not for zinut purposes. She does it because she's tzinuah ruach ba'al sham. She's expecting when she sees Yehuda, Yehuda is going to see her. She's very tzinuah. She's very appropriate to be a wife for the third child. And that was her plan from the beginning. And that's what she is intending. Omnam, but there's a side effect here. The fact that she covered herself in a modest way to seem like a good wife for Shelah ends up being that Yehuda, who is now a widower, who has no companion, sees her, doesn't know who she is, and proposes to her as a zonah. And he engages in Tamar for completely different purposes. Now, Tamar is sitting back here and is now shocked at what's happening. Now she starts, her gears turning, and she's thinking to herself, whoa, an opportunity has just presented in front of me that I had no idea would be. And really, she's thinking to herself, well, technically speaking, this is mutar. The laws of the Torah were not as set as they were once the Torah was received. And you have a concept of yibum, that a woman whose husband passes away would marry, and they don't have children, would marry the brother. But back then it could have been any relative, and it could have been the father as well. So she says, wow, Yehuda has just come into play, but not just Yehuda's in play for me right now. On the spot, she realized, one second, my opportunity and chances with Shelah, that third son of Yehuda, are slim. It's not a sure thing. But Yehuda, it's a sure thing right now. And that may not have been my ideal circumstance, but I would rather take the for sure thing right now with Yehuda than the safek, the not sure chance with Shelah later on. And that's what she does. She calls an audible based on Yehuda's reaction, which is mistaken. She never intended for that to be the point. On seeing her, she wanted to be tsenu'ah. Because she is so covered, Yehuda doesn't recognize her and is seeking that companionship. And Tamar, on the moment, on the spot, calls an audible and capitalizes on that and is with Yehuda. And that's why the first thing she says is, I got to cover myself and protect myself. I got to make sure that I have signs that if I am pregnant from this relationship, that no one thinks that I was with another man, which she's not allowed to be. So she asks for those signs, which ends up saving her later on when she gets pregnant and they suspect that she did something inappropriate. She says, no, this was from Yehuda. These are the signs from Yehuda. And she is saved and she has twins. And that is the beginning of the Davidic dynasty. And that is a unique interpretation in which Akedat Yitzchak brings us to really the situation and the mindset of Tamar and shows us how things are changing according to her plan. It doesn't go the way she planned. And she pivots and she adjusts based on the responses of Yehuda as it goes along in the story. Chazak Baruch, thank you for joining us, learning Rabbi Yitzchak Arama on the parasha. Join us next week for Parashat Miketz on the parasha. Chazak Baruch.